Yeah, I'm feeling bloody cold as well. I'm trying to warm up my hands so I can write. Um, no, I feel like it's been a long time since we've spoken, even though it hasn't been. And the other thing that I just wanted to make sure is that we're moving to take care of the things that are really very important to us
Hmm.
around the taxation
Yes.
and just the stuff that's going on with Jerry and his business because they're so intertwined
Hmm.
that it's important that we don't leave them behind so that we really get this thing. Um, I, I think at some moment I'm a risky character in that sense, Megan, because I don't see it. I don't really take it on board as being such a large amount of money, but that's just where I'm at with it. And I'm really always very concerned about how it affects yourself and Jerry.
Hmm.
I don't want to be blasé about it. I just know that it has to be managed.
Yes, I agree, Kelly.
So,
I honestly feel the same way. I don't feel that it is a huge amount of money in, but I definitely understand what you're saying.
and it's like anything. It's we can manage what we know. We can't manage what we don't know.
Exactly.
So if we're aware of it, we can actually do things and we can talk about things and we can drive towards the things that make us, just get us on and get it done. I,
I agree.
I think that's important. So I don't want to, I'm always a bit concerned as somebody who's mentoring you or talking to you on a fairly regular basis that ultimately we're about building a business which is about money exchange, which is about making sure that we've got it all detailed so that one, I really just don't want you to be a slave to anything, and I don't want Jerry to be a slave to anything either. And that doesn't mean that we don't manage it. We have to manage our situation. And the one thing I absolutely know for certain is government and taxation systems and debts and that people keep you enslaved by the fact that they've got something over you, like the tax department and their whatever they have it, and it's better to keep you trading than not. So but it's something that's going to be managed, and profitability really comes from margin and pricing and all the rest of it. So we got to be really very careful about that, and
Hmm.
so I want to be supportive, and I don't want to be blasé about it. If you understand my
Yes. No, I totally understand. That's on my list too, just to touch base on. So I have a phone call after this meeting with the accountant. I spoke to her last week, um, and she was contacting the tax office because it has to go through her, and then I call up to negotiate the repayment plan.
How come you have to go through her?
Because I have the last 2 years group certificate, so the business tax, not group certificate, the business tax needs to be finalised, and she is lodging my BAS. It's been quite interesting because I've reviewed my last few years of tax, and or my business account, which I probably should have been on top, not probably, I should have been on top of a little bit more. And there's a few things missing from the bookkeeper that I was using, just things that weren't entered so we've just gone back and we're just having a look at a few things as well. So
You'd be in a because you're a developing business, you'd be at a tax loss, I would have thought.
yes.
Would have also thought that, and I think that that's what's important to understand is the fact that you are, and then you obviously get into offsets with Jerry and stuff like that, and it would be, there's just things.
Hmm.
We won't talk about them right now while we're recording. We'll stop the
Okay.
recording later and do that. So that's fine. But to me, I'm just really cautious and conscious of the fact that It's your business and your decisions, and I have to be clear that I don't let myself get in the way of what your decisions are, what you do. So I mean, I've always been about you making your own decisions.
Yes.
So anyway, all right. So the other thing that I think is important is that 10K in deposit, where that resides, and how we're going to deal with it. And
Yes.
7, there seems to be a freeing of money coming through, and every part of me knows that we should be going towards that government grant, right? Because it's not that you actually need money. What you need is securitization of money. Do you understand my point? So if we go into the face mask, it's not that you need a lot of money to buy the face mask. You just need a lot of an ability to secure them, to get them going, and then we cash flow it. And I really don't want you to take the risk unless you are in a position where you've hedged your risk against, a type of security that says, well, we won't put this at risk, and we're doing this. If you understand, like we have an insurance plan.
Yes, I understand.
And it's not about somebody injecting a bunch of money into your business where you don't know where it's going. It's about injecting money in and you know exactly where it's going. It's not paying off something that's paying off debt. It's improving your business to take you to a whole new level of what we do, because it's extremely hard in my mind to make the money that's required in that shopping center.
I agree, Kelly.
But you need to have the shopping center as a location for somebody to fix where you're at. And you also, in my view, are going to need a training center, which is fundamentally what you've been doing with your young women and training them, which is your greatest skill, Meghan, in my view, is management. Your ability to manage and make decisions. So in maybe that's what you and I have to do over the next little while, is really say, what is Meghan's direction? Why the Haven? What is it that you can see in your mind that will give you a 5-year future? We've been altering things and creating things. I think we just need to be extremely clear about what it looks like. In my mind, I can see what it looks like. I have to make sure that you and I are on the same page. And so I think once we get through all of this stuff,
excuse me,
I think we're going to have to really write down and see what a 5 years looks like for us.
Yes.
Because right now we've been, in my mind, we've created a brand, which is your brand, and you're developing your language, and now we have to develop where that goes to and what you really do see and how you can see it being affected. Like I just cannot see with location and just the over-the-counter trade, I can't see that being enough. And I think that I've never really been personally, I've never been heading towards that. I've been heading towards, how do we enroll all the other people that are in a similar boat to you, and create that leverage from our understanding of what's possible.
I agree, Kelly.
And not just relying of traffic coming, through the door. And I ultimately think that your place could be the Haven Training Center for skin and body.
Yes.
That's in my mind. I don't know if that's in your mind, but I think we really do have to get very clear on that and very tight. Like when I go back to last year, I'm thinking, like, you had a friend that into nails and that. And she said, "Oh, we couldn't use your branding in our thing." And my attitude to it was, "We can't do business with you then,
I agree.
friend or no friend." You know, we're developing this thing, which is a future for us.
Hmm.
I don't see necessarily, and that's me, and I just need to be clear with you, I don't necessarily see you being as hands-on in the salon as you being hands-on in the management of people and the industry,
Hmm.
which is very and my other strongest belief is you have to have experience in the industry.
Yes.
It's one thing to say, "Oh, I'm a good manager." Like, it's easy for me to say, "Oh, I could be a good entrepreneur, a good manager," but what do I really know about your industry? How do I experience it? So I try not to have my experience. You know, it's hard to relate a hose and a fitting to a hair and a face, but the principles of business are the same.
Yes.
And I want to know that that in what we're doing in our visioning of your future, we can see that and we're heading towards that. And I think we're a long way down the road, and I think we need to be clear so people around us can be clear. I think we have an unspoken thing.
Hmm.
We now need to make it spoken.
Yes.
And
I
so
agree.
we get a clear path, if that makes sense to you.
Perfect sense. I've actually been looking at that in probably the last 2 months, and trying to make my ideas and my vision clear. And like you said about the 5-year plan, looking at where I want to move to with the salon, but also the wholesale component of that business.
Well, and I think your industry is full of young ladies or young women who have this idea that they genuinely want to be in a business.
Mm-hmm.
And then they really do need to have an experience of a business. And it's hard work. I mean, Meghan, you have to have your attitude, right? Which is very flexible and it takes a risk and it's constantly improving. You have to have that attitude. If you don't have that attitude, you know, it's really hard. Like the woman next door to you, when I listen to what you tell me about her, I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, you know, that's just fly by the seat of your pants." You and I are flying by the seat of our pants, but that's not our intention.
Mm-hmm.
We got to flip that somehow.
Yes.
So I think that it would be interesting if we sat down and we had, you know, maybe we set aside 4 hours just to do a plan.
Yes.
And we do it in person, whether you come to my house or whether you know, we go somewhere, we do something. But I do think we need to sit down and we need to say, what do we see in the next 5 years so that we're on task? And so if I'm not here, at least we've done our stuff around what we really want and how we really see it playing out.
Yes.
Does that make sense to you?
Perfect sense.
So I wanted to put that on the table because I finally think we're getting into the bones and all.
Mm-hmm. And I'm still, like we were saying, I won't go into it too much, but with the wholesale component of what we've been speaking about with the masks, and I've still been doing research on that in the side and looking at other options, taking feedback from clients. One of my girls, she just got back from Japan. And when she was in Japan, they do a day trip to Korea. So she went to Korea and did research and brought back some masks, but all different kinds that are currently on the market and that are selling. And so we've been looking at those as well. So just focusing on what's out there, what's working, what's not working. So it's been quite interesting.
Well, I think we positioned it pretty well when we took it away from, you know, beauty bar to body and skin.
Yes.
And I think that it's really important that we start looking at what does body and skin mean.
Mm-hmm.
People don't really specifically talk about skin, but skin's the biggest organ.
I agree, Kelly.
And so it allows itself we can say body, and it really is another takeoff of the Body Shop and something like that. But it goes much deeper than potions and lotions. It's like if you're there and our mind is moving towards that, then it's how do we bring it around? You don't actually need that big of a facility to do what we're talking about in today's world. What we need to do is have good common sense about it. And you've got a lot of stuff that you've laid into the work so that it doesn't look like you've moved very far, but I think you've moved a long, long way. It's putting that long, long way into some sense of how do we move it to the next level, which is a very profitable cash flowing level. So, and I don't think that's too far away, Megan, if we get focused.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't get down into some of the other problems that we have, I just think we need to understand potentially every salon that does anything to do with skin and body is a potential customer.
Yes, Kelly, I agree.
And, I have this concept in my mind. I always think about the chicken fryer. And so it sounds funny, but what I look at is, when you go to service stations,
yes,
where you buy your petrol, and they have these chicken fryers, and it might be Dixie Lee chicken. And they put it on the front counter. It's not, it's actually a sub-brand within the brand.
yes,
So they supply the chicken, they supply the spices, they supply all the packaging and all the rest of it. It's an add-on business inside the business. And I see this as a chicken fryer. A lot of times people talk about entrepreneurism. I prefer intrapreneurism. What can I get inside an existing space? You get my point?
yes,
Can I get, like when you look at a supermarket, all a supermarket is everybody else's product on a brand shelf. So how do we get your product onto those shelves? And I think competing in the world of supermarkets and drugstores, and I think that's hard. It's so competitive. Yet if you get out into the service market, which is the next step, it's the aftermarket.
mm-hmm.
It's the market where what you're doing, the stuff that you're doing. If you can get into that market and you can have your chicken fryer, on their counter.
Yes, I agree.
And if you look at what I'm saying, you'll see that concept everywhere.
Mm.
Everywhere you go, that's all about how do I get this location in somebody else's place, and how do you add value?
Yes.
And I think, like, you add value, like you've got experience, which is what most people don't have. They just go in with an idea, but you actually have experience. So that's where that goes. But anyway, let's get back onto task. So how am I feeling? I'm feeling like I'm really encouraged, Megan, by the fact that you're going to get on with dealing with all the issues, because we have to. We can't have stuff in the background. We got to get it and manage it. You can manage what you know, you can't manage what you don't know.
I agree, Kelly.
So let's go there. So the first thing is, let's go to lease. Tell me what you want to talk about with the lease.
So let's chat firstly about the 10K deposit. I'm just going to share my screen.
Okay.
So when we went back and asked them for a receipt or formal notification, what they've come back with is they've said that, I'm just opening this up. So all they've come back pretty much with this part here. Can you see that part,
Yeah.
Kelly? So it says, we advise that the lease is shop 5A, which is the shop I have. They didn't enclose the settlement statement, obviously, but they said that the amount was adjusted in favour of our mutual client. So I still haven't been advised who the client is or who has my funds. And Anna sent me this, Anna Marie sent me this email to say, is this appropriate?
Okay, well, I think we take the bull by the horn,
Mm-hmm.
and we go to your bank.
Yes.
And we say we need to get a secure deposit of $10,000. What do I need to do?
Mm-hmm. So I spoke to the bank, and there was two options that I could do. The first option was to provide the funds personally, and the second option was to put it against, say, my current. They would give me the 10K, and I would put it against my current asset.
And what asset would they consider the current asset?
That would be my house.
So they would put it against the mortgage of your house.
Yes.
And if you put the money down, what sort of what would they interest rate would they give you on your money?
I didn't actually get that information, Kelly. Sorry.
Well, it's important, like when you look at this thing, because when you're saying, okay, well, we can do it against the house, they do the valuation on your house, and then you pay an interest rate. We need to understand the actual money it's going to be expensed for it. So the thing that I find offensive about the money that's been on deposit for 5 years is you've effectively lost about 15% interest.
It's been 7 years.
Okay, so now you can take it up to about $20,000. Sorry, 20% interest, not 20,000, because
Yes.
it will double. So you're talking about $2,000 or $3,000.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual net value of that money is less. And so that's the part that really bothers me about that is that I can now understand in Queensland why they don't pay interest, because you can actually put it on deposit with the security against the bank. Makes a lot more sense to me than having the money on deposit and then relying on them to get the best value for your money. Right now, you don't have the best value for your money. So I think we need to go back. We don't rely on Anna to tell us what's going to do. We take the bull by the horn and we say, no, this is what we're going to want to do. It's part of it, and it'll fall right into our negotiation of the lease. It'll say that we prefer to have a fixed dollar amount, which will be the 10K as a deposit. To us, it doesn't matter whether it's 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months. It's the sum of money, right? So we would agree in the lease to have $10,000 deposit or secured deposit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not. I don't want to get into this. Oh, well, it's 2 months or 3 months, because what happens then, if the rent increases, then they're always after you to increase your security. At this stage, we want to negotiate in the lease a $10,000 maximum bond. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, Kelly.
So to do that, we need to include that in our negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
So then what we would do is we go to the bank and we get that $10,000 and as a security, and we would bring back that $10,000 into cash.
Yes.
And, to do that, it might mean that you have to put it on your home equity, which is what the bank is suggesting. But then you can get it off your home equity, and then it reduces your payments or puts you in front of your payments, is the end of my understanding.
Yes.
But I think we have to take that step. I think this leaving it out there and saying, well, we've got it and we're not going to give it to you, as part of our negotiation of the lease, I think we want to make it very clear to Anna that the most we're going to have on deposit as a bond is going to be 10K. And then I think
Kelly, I'd like to go in less than that, to be honest.
Well, then go with what you think you can get. I want them back.
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you can say that what we believe is we would rather have a $5,000 bond, which is clearly in a negotiating sense, that's what you want to do. You want to negotiate it as really as hard and as fair as you think. I think you have to have a deposit of some sort.
Yes, I agree.
So it's not an argument of deposit, but you see, all of these things, they're trying to work on norms. I'm trying to say, no, we're not, take your norm and shove it. We want this deal. And our deal says that we will put this, and you put it as part of your negotiation. But step one is we want our money back.
Yes.
So step one is, and you could well say that in your negotiation. You could well say, we would like to receive our money back, and we're going to put 5,000 security. Go to your bank and get your 5,000 security and say, we've already got a $5,000 security with the bank. We'll place that with you now. We would like the return of our 9,750, and then we'll start negotiating the new lease. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
That's just a step in the negotiation.
Yes.
So if we did that, that would make sense to me. What do you think?
Would you do that before I sign a new lease, though, or would I wait? Would I just put that offer forward?
You want your money back, Megan. This is not negotiating the lease. This is setting a position, right? So you want your money back.
I just don't understand why they would give I'm just trying to understand, Kelly, why they would give me anything back until we had negotiated a new.
Well, what you're doing is in good faith.
Okay.
And it's not a matter of you say you're declaring your hand at that moment by saying we think that it shouldn't be a number of months. It should be a deposit of $5,000, and we're willing to put that $5,000 down, and we'll do it now, and we want our money back. You get my point?
Yes.
And that shows good faith towards the negotiation. It's like what you're saying is, that's why I went to 10, and you're saying 5. I agree with you that if we're going to play hard, let's play hard up front, but let's get your money back.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
Okay, and what was the other things on your lease that?
So the other thing that was the first one. The other one was the square meterage.
Yeah.
So she came back with I had to chase her up though.
Yeah, of course.
And I did get Jerry to check this, and he agrees. They came back with the measurements, which are 60.47.
So you're satisfied that it's 60 meters?
Without getting somebody to come in and re-measure.
Okay, but are you satisfied?
Yes.
And Jerry's satisfied?
Jerry confirmed the calculations, because I didn't understand how you could calculate a square meterage when you had different figures.
Okay.
But Jerry explained how they calculate square meterage, which is by taking the two figures, and which is what they've done here.
Okay. So
I don't understand how I've got a difference in a meter in the wall, but I find that interesting.
So he's saying they take it on the larger number, not on they take it on the 467 and 1294, not
that's right.
4.7 and 1148.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Well, in the end, you just have to be satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to understand it, Megan. We just have to say, okay, well, that to me, square meterage is a furphy anyway. It's like, oh, we got to put it against something. They actually want rent against the space.
Yes.
And they say this is the space, so that's how they legalize the space.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's fine when you say, okay, we accept the 60 square meters. Now let's get down to what we're going to pay for the 60 square meters. All we're paying for is shop 5A. We don't really care. It suits our purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And now we're agreeing to that, so that they're basing it on a per square meterage thing. So if they need to have incremental increases, they're going to do it incremental increases against the square meterage.
Correct.
Which is what we're saying is, okay, well, for our point of view, it's $2,500 or $3,000 for shop 5A. And they can say, well, this is what shop 5A makes no difference to us. It's shop 5A, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then what we do is then we go on and say, okay, so now we've got this. And our next thing is about CPI and stuff like that.
Yes.
And so why would we have CPI increases? CPI increases, in my mind, keep the value of the property from going down to keep it higher. So they can say, well, I can't see why the rent would improve unless something else improved.
So, Kelly, the one thing that I'm interested in is the rent that they've offered me, and last time they came back and said no, was $5.95 plus GST.
Yeah.
The rent
that's weekly.
That's per square meter.
Okay, $5.95, yeah.
So $5.95 by 60. The rent that they offered next door and they've signed on, they've handshaked on, is $5.10 plus GST.
And they're the same size?
She's 59, but yes.
So fundamentally the same.
Same size.
Okay, so why don't we go in at 500?
Mm-hmm.
Remember the game that we played with low, medium, high?
Yes.
So if they want 595 and we go in at 500, we got to be very careful. Like when they change it out, we would like to get as close to 510 as possible, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so when you look at it, if we can get it to 510,
that's less than what I'm paying now.
Okay, but let's just look at that for a second. 510. The next year it would be. Let's just take that. 510. They wanted 3%, didn't they?
Yes.
So that would make year two 525. That would make year, so year two, year three would be 540. That would make the next year 556. That would make the next year after that 573. So it would, in effect, if we got it down to 510, on the fifth year, you'd be paying less rent than you're paying now. Do you understand that?
Yes.
With a CPI of 3%. So that would mean that somewhere between 510 and 520 or 525, something like that, would see you have the next 5 years without necessarily an increase in your rent of today. Do you get my point?
Yes.
So if we can reduce the rent and then agree to the CPI at 3%, that would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yes.
So if we got, and I think like she's going to say, well, at 510, she's going to say, you've got 1 extra square meter over the woman next door. If she's petty, and that, what would that make it? That's going to make it so that it goes. So what? How much is it per square meter?
Currently?
Yeah.
Currently, I'm paying, I believe, $520 including GST. Can you see this invoice here?
Yeah.
So what I look at is I take this amount here, the charge, 2839.2, and I divide that by 60.
2839 divided by 60.
Which is my square meterage.
So it's $47 a square meter.
It's 400. It'll be 473.
That's per annum. Is that per annum?
This is monthly. My charge.
But
Yep.
why would it be? So if I take 2,839 and divide it by 60, which is what you told me to do, 2839.2 divided by 60 equals $47.32 per square meter.
No, it's not right. What have I done?
Well, but if you're saying your square meterage, right? That's on a monthly basis.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take that, they're saying it's $47.32 on your calculation.
Yes.
Per square meter per month.
This is where I've always had the problem,
It's
Kelly.
$567 per year.
No, that's not right. Just give me a second. 60. So see on the, can you see this new lease, the one that they offered?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. So it's $595 per square meter.
Correct. So the way that that's calculated.
But that's annualized.
Yes. So that's from
so
that figure there.
Divide it by 12, and it comes down to $49 per square meter per month. So if the woman next door is paying $510, the equivalent of that would be $560.
Okay.
Is how I figure it.
So if I was to work it out from the way that they've worked it out on this lease, so on here, the rent, they've said 35700 to get to this figure.
You divide it by 12.
I've divided this by 60.
Yeah, 60, yes.
Which equals $595 per square meter.
Yes, and then
So
divide it by 12 gives you per meter.
No. This is it per meter, $595 per meter.
No, that's per 60 meters.
I'm confused.
So you go 35700, right?
Yes.
Okay, and that's per annum. Sorry. Now divide it down because we're going back to a monthly rent.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at it, you go 35700.
Yes.
Okay, divided by 60 gives you 595.
Yes.
Okay, now divide the 595 by 12.
Why do you divide it by the 12?
So three. Let me get my calculation right here. So that gives me 595 per square meter per annum. That's your per annum rate, right?
Okay.
Okay, now what we're doing is working a monthly rent.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're doing is we're saying, okay, how much do I actually pay per square meter um, on a monthly basis? So 595 is what I'm paying over the 60 square meters over the year. So 35700 divided by 60 equals 595.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but that's 60 meters over a year.
Okay.
But the rent that you're paying is by the month.
Yes.
Okay, and we're trying to negotiate the month rent. So we've got to get it down to how much do you pay per square meter per month.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we take the 595, we divide that by 12, which gives you your monthly per square meter. And so if we're calculating it against, like she's saying, she's paying 510 for 59 square meters, right?
Correct.
Okay, so now we got 560. Let's see if that works out. 560 times 60 equals, oh no, that's, why is that? 5, so 560. Why do we have the 510? 510 is a weekly rent, am I correct?
510 is the square meterage amount. On if we're
Yeah, 510 is the square meterage amount on, that's where we're getting. 510 is the square meterage amount.
that they're paying next door.
Okay, and so what we're trying to do is 510 to, and what we're saying, so 560 is going to be too high. I'm now starting to work out what you're saying. So
My question is, I understand what you're saying by working out the monthly rate.
so
But
they're paying 42.50 for the month on 510.
Yes.
So if we then took times 60, so we've got 510. God, I'm confusing myself now.
My question is, why do they, when they put this rent forward, why do they always say when they do square meterage, they say that in the 500s or the 600s or the 700s? Is that they're giving you a yearly figure, or are they, why did they not come back and say $42 per? That's my confusion. Like whenever I see
I get it. So what but they're relating, the relationship is to the 35,700,
okay.
and we're trying to relate it to the 2,000. Right, we're trying to you go back to your monthly rent. Now this one says annualized rent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now go to your invoice. That's your monthly rent.
Mm-hmm.
So that what they're saying is you don't pay 35,700. You pay that. You pay that as a monthly. So you times that by 12. So it's 2839.2 times 12, isn't it?
Yes. So 34070.
Yeah, and then so that gets that, and then you pay your outgoings.
Yeah. So that's a different rate. That's not.
Yeah, but fundamentally it's 34,000.
Yes.
Okay, and that's how you get there. But what I'm saying is there's 1 square meter difference between the two, between your shop and the other woman's shop. How do you work out the per square meter for 1 square meter?
Okay.
because
understand
that's exactly going to be their argument. Just give me a second, Megan. Chris, I'm on the call with Megan. Can I get back to you in a few minutes?
Yeah, no worries. Talk to you later,
All
brother.
right.
Okay.
You understand what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
It's because if we go 510 is where we should go in. That's our argument, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she's going to say you're getting it for less per square meter if you get it for 510 because you're 1 meter more. We're short of a meter. That's why starting in at 510 is actually quite good. Do you understand what I'm doing in negotiation?
I understand that. Yeah, I think I do.
Okay, so think about it. You say the person next door agreed to 510.
Yes.
Okay, now you're also saying that your shop is 1 square meter larger.
Mm-hmm.
They're basing their argument on square meterage,
Mm-hmm.
which means that for us, when we go back and negotiate, we're saying 510. We know that they're willing to accept 510 on 59 square meters.
Yes.
If they accepted 510 on 60 square meters, you've got a lesser rent than the woman next door.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to go in at 510. Well, what would you settle at?
I'd go in at 5, to be honest, to start with, and then negotiate. What would I settle at?
Well, we said 5, but so you're going in at 5, and they're going to come back with a counteroffer, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
And their counteroffer is going to be somewhere, if we think about it, the woman next door got 510. So I think that if they're going to counteroffer, they're going to counteroffer around 550.
Yes.
If they counteroffer at 550, we know we got them. And then we can squeeze. We can then say, they might say no, it's not negotiable. But if they negotiate 550, we know that we can probably get them down to 540, 535.
Mm-hmm.
And then now think about that. So now we got them down to 535. Now in the rest of your lease, you got to multiply it in terms of the CPI or that rate. If we get it down to, and we can work it out, but if we can get it down to about 540, in effect, by the 5th year, you'd be back to about 595.
Mm-hmm.
Which then means you've done a good deal.
Yes.
That's my point.
No, I understand that. I think you were confusing me with the figure thing, but I understand it.
Okay, so in the negotiation, don't forget, we're saying it's shop 5A.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying it's 60 square meters. What's the one next door to you, 5B or something, or 4?
I think they're 4 or 5. 4?
Okay, so there's shop 4, and they're 59 square meters, and they've agreed to 510.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they're arguing on square meters is going to mean that they're going to expect a higher rent for yours than the one next door.
Yes.
And what we're saying is it's 5A. What difference does it make?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you go in at 500, it's going to be curious to see where she goes. And then if I were them, I'd go 500, and can we get a CPI of 3? Because that means it's going to be climbing for them, right?
Yes.
And they might go at a CPI of 3, or if the CPI goes greater than 3, like if it's 6, they'll take the 6, because they'll then go to CPI, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you need to be worried about getting caught. But I think your offer is 500, and let's see it play itself out. I'd be very surprised if they came back at 510.
Mm-hmm.
Because that wouldn't make sense to their argument.
No.
because at that moment, if you get it down to 510, it changes their per square meter charge.
Yes.
You get my point now?
Yes.
And all I want to do is I want to work out is what's that extra square meter worth. And whether they'll even, maybe they'll just say, oh, what difference does it make? Well, that's good. It makes no difference to us. But what if it makes a difference? And they'll say, oh, no, your square meterage is way too low. And all we're arguing on is based is on the actual
Calculations.
or 5A. I don't care what, for me, it could be 100 square meters. I still only want to pay this for 5A. But they're relating it to that method of review, 4% annual on anniversary and lease commencement date. You see, even that, like we're saying, no, there's not a chance in the world it's going to be 4%. I mean, bank interest think about bank interest at where that's at 2 or 3% nearly. You can't get that back. So that's the other thing that we'd be saying is she sent that to us, and we'd actually on that 2 to 4%, we'd actually be saying 500, and then we would say CPI or maximum 2%, something like that, right? Annual review 2%, because then that's above CPI. We would say 2% or CPI. Which then becomes a risk.
So when I send this back to her, Kelly, I can be quite basic and just put in the figure, or I can confirm.
I would put in 502%.
I just confirm that we've got the square meterage, and then I'll put in 502%, and that's all I need to put on the email.
I think that's what I'd do, and I'd leave it in her court to come back and negotiate.
Okay.
On the other side of it is what we talked about in the very beginning. We talked about a deposit of $5,000.
And can I just ask you, how do you word that? How would you word that just to say that?
I think we just say what we would offer. Don't give it too much, say, because we've been in your shopping center and we've been a good tenant for this amount of time, we think we've proven our value, and we think a deposit of $5,000 is fair and reasonable. Right? Don't take it on a monthly or anything. Just say we think $5,000 is fair and reasonable. And then you can also then put on it, we're offering $500 a month for the rent and a CPI of 2%.
Perfect.
Keep it as simple as possible. Don't give too much wordage. Based on the fact that I've been a tenant for this long, and we've been a value tenant. Based on the fact that I've been a value tenant for this long, we want to renew the lease in good faith. We think that $5,000 is a good surety, and at that moment say. We want, we would like our 9,007. We'll provide the surety of $5,000, and then you say I've already negotiated a bank security for $5,000, and see what they say.
Okay.
Let's get the 10 grand back.
Perfect.
But keep it simple, Meghan. Don't try to overcomplicate it. Like they've got a bunch of words here, and you can see how confused we get when we're bouncing all over the place. $500, 2%, 5,000. Is that simple, isn't it?
Yes.
And then they'll fill in their lease accordingly.
Sounds good, Kelly.
And I have no doubt she'll be advising her client what a good deal that is. And her client will no doubt be saying, well, you've got to do better.
It'll be interesting, Kelly, because they've just opened up that new massage centre. It's been opened up since Mother's Day, and they're very quiet. So it's interesting to see that, because they're actually related to the owner, so they can see how the centre is.
Good. So let's get in under the guard now.
All right, perfect.
Shall we look at the scorecard?
Yes. So I'm not sure what I've done. I'll just reshare. I have not got last week's figures, sorry, the week before, so I'm missing the previous week, but I have last week's. So last week's, I'll just make that bigger.
Well, you gotta stop sharing first, because I'm still looking at the lease.
Let me have a look. Can you see that one now?
Yeah, just give me a second.
You're right.
I got 2 Mexicans sending me Skypes. Okay.
When most people say that, they mean someone from New South Wales, not actual Mexico. We call my mum a Mexican.
Oh, okay. Okay, so our upsells, so 5,000, 5,075. So our upsells are starting to become consistent, yeah?
Mm-hmm. So Kelly, what I did was I looked at, I went and did a little bit of research back into our figures to look at what was popular, when we needed to fill spots and those sorts of things, which is what we've spoken about before. And I was finding that the Thursdays and the Saturdays are doing quite well, but it's the other days of the week that then we have to pick up. So I implemented a Monday to Friday special. So it's a $59 facial special. So we've been running that for just under 2 weeks now. And I've had over 16 clients take that one up.
Well, there you go. There's the threshold.
Mm-hmm. And then what we're doing is we've been doing education on the upsells of how to get the 59, then looking at what we can upsell for the client, those sorts of things. So been spending a lot of time in the salon in the last, say, 10 days, really focusing on that. But the $59 facial is really starting to pick up. And we're only running that Monday to Friday. And then if someone wants to take that up on a Saturday, we're selling that one for $69 on a Saturday.
And you're seeing that people are more than happy to do that.
Well, I've had one lady so far in the last 2 weeks. She's come each week for the $59 facial because she said to, and it's quite interesting because we have a 1 hour facial for 60 minutes for 120. But she said to us that was too expensive. Yet she came twice for $59. So ideally it's the same amount, but because it looks more reasonable and obviously it's something they can afford, I think that it's I think it's doing quite well.
And so on the upsell on the 59s, are we doing good upsell?
Yes, so we're doing minimum upsell, most of them of $20. So we're doing $20 to $30 minimum.
So that's still, so 59, it's still coming in around our 99.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Which really says to us somewhere between $89 and $99 is what people are willing to spend on a given any given moment, right? Or any given session.
Yes.
So that's what we're really looking at, is how do we increase or first of all, how do we get more people in the chairs, knowing that when we get them in the chairs, in the
I know what you mean.
In the studios, how do we get, and I think it's important that we have a language for that, Megan. So each one of those little places is like a studio, isn't it? A skin studio.
Mm-hmm.
So if we've got them in there and we've got them there at 59 as our lost leader, if you like, and then all of a sudden we're saying, okay, there's an opportunity and we need to have packages for around $30 to $40.
We're working on it at the moment. We have upgrades that start at $8.50. So they're the collagen eyes. We do those in the room because we're finding that if we do the $8.50, what we're normally getting is the clients are upgrading to masks or, so the masks are valued between 20 to 30. So most people that take the $20 upgrade normally get two. So they'll normally get the $8.50 upgrade. So the upgrade at the moment on 59, we're sitting between 20 and 30.
All right. Well, and we know that we know that 59 seems to be a good starting point, and we know that 99 is a target point.
Yes.
And so I think that's we run that. And so really we've got to, so at 5,047.
So that's what I mean, Kelly. Last week was dead quiet, ridiculously quiet. I think at the beginning of the week we had in $1,800 booked. And then what we've been doing is contacting clients, calling, texting, obviously social media, standing outside, just being more aware of, interaction with clients, and also, your social media marketing, your emails. I think when we sent this email out the other night, I sent it out at 8 p.m. because I get messages when people book online, and within an hour I had 4 bookings for the next 2 days from one email.
Well, that's pretty impressive, really, given that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it shows that at least someone's watching the email.
I know.
Well, Megan, I think what's really important is that you're doing something, and I think that again, it's not too far off what we've been expecting, and I think that this cold weather's not doing you any good either. I'll bet.
No, but with Kelly, as I said, it's not. We've been trying. I've also had. I've organised for some social media influencers to come into the salon. So we had one in yesterday. I have one in Monday. Marley and I have been doing videos as well. So we're doing a lot more interaction on social media with showing our personality, the salon. So we've been doing that. I don't know if you follow Instagram, but we've got a few videos up that we've done of facials in salon. So we're trying to really focus on education for our clients as well as marketing.
I really do wish I understood it better, Megan. I don't. so I look at what you did, and I'm impressed by it because it's something that I just don't understand. What I can say is what we're watching is the numbers, and the numbers are really where we want them to be. And as the season changes and it gets a little bit warmer and people are out more out and about, I think you'll see those numbers will start to increase.
Yes.
So and I think that what you're doing now is by keeping track of that, and it would seem like your technicians are really aware of how important it is to upsell.
Yes.
Do you think they're getting stronger?
Definitely. I'm just about to let one, because I had a new staff member, Kelly, I took on about 5 weeks ago. I'm about to let her go because she's just not, I've spent a lot of time training her, but she's just not really clicking or getting any of the training. But Wayu and Marley, so they're my 2 older ones. We've been having our weekly meetings and going through the upgrades, going through the products, spending a lot more time on education in salon. And they're excited about the $59 facial, obviously, because they're getting busier as well. So I think that we've all been spending a lot more time on education and just really, yeah.
Okay, well, I think what's good there, Megan, is they're really aware of it, and it will start to develop the way forward with the way you do business or the culture you're setting up. And if people don't fit, you got to get rid of them.
I know.
And it's like, don't hang on. You know, it's like, bring them on. They don't fit, get rid of them.
I know.
It's, I hate to say it as bluntly as that because it sounds heartless, but I think that they don't fit, they don't fit.
I agree with you, Kelly. So, because I have one of my girls going away for a month at the end of June. That was my only concern, but yes.
Well,
I know.
You'll find something.
I know.
Megan, I think all I can say is the tighter we keep track of it. 1473. We've 14.
I think one of the things we've also been looking at, Kelly, is the girls and I have been talking about the fact that, say, for instance, this day here on a Saturday, last week we sat at 1869. Now that was with 2 rooms running. So we're also talking about the possibility of, once that third room's full, of the targets that we can hit for the day. So we've been having a lot of talk about you know, what the possibility is in the salon with clients, and, you know, having 3 rooms running instead of 2, because at the moment we really only ever have 2 rooms booked. So there's a lot of awareness on that, which is good.
Okay, well, again, it's like anything else. It's never enough sales.
I know.
And at least you're looking towards, how do we improve that? Like saying, okay, well, we're not sitting on our hands and saying, well, it's me. I like the fact that you're going out into the shopping center and handing out stuff so that people know that you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, there's not much more to say. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's just closing the door to freeze me out some more.
You need a heater in there, Kelly.
What, do you have a heater in your room?
Yeah, I have. When we bought the house, Jerry's mate does aircon, so we have 4 aircon reverse cycles. So in my tiny little office, you can see I've got this beautiful big, nice. Can you see that? Look.
Yeah.
I'm nice and toasty, and I've got the door open as well.
Yeah. No. We have those too, but Anna's really funny about running that stuff. Breathe. Put on a blanket.
So's my dad.
I don't know what it is, but I'll tell you, she doesn't like running.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing that one just so I can have a look at, make sure that I've got my... What else did I have? That covers everything I had on my